Thanks for tuning in. Here we are behind the scenes at the Hanover Theatre or the Addams Family National Tour, depending on who you ask. Today, I am very excited to have James Kronzer on the phone with me. Welcome, James.
Great to be here.
Yes, James, you are like a god to us over at the Hanover Theatre. We'll get to why in a few minutes, but first we'll talk about how you're the scenic and production designer for the Addams Family, that national tour. And I have to say your resume is very impressive. You have won, what is it, a total of 8 Helen Hayes Awards and 2 Barrymore Awards, all for your good work?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yep. Thank you. It's a great honor to have those.
You've been doing this for a while, and your talent obviously shines through. And so let me just ask you, how did you get started? What inspired you to be a scenic and production designer?
You know, I discovered theater in high school, and I never looked back. And I remember watching a painter at the high school that I was at paint a drop, and I was just so intrigued by that and the process of blowing up something very large. And then I think from there, it became a love affair with Shakespeare and just everything that had to do with theater. So, you know, even to this day, it doesn't feel like work.
No.
Doing what I do, it's a great joy to play in the sandbox.
Isn't that great? And that's what we should all be doing, is something that we love, and then it doesn't feel like work. There are lots of very famous people that give that exact advice.
Yep, exactly.
So did you grow up watching the Addams Family? Did you already have kind of a special place in your heart for this show before you were asked to design the set?
Well, yes, it's I'm a child of the 60s and the 70s, so television at that time was somewhat limited, but very specific. Everybody watched the same thing. I remember staying up and watching the Partridge Family on Fridays. I think it was Fridays, and then the Brady Bunch on Saturdays.
Me too.
And that was it. That was it. The Addams Family was certainly a part of it.
Oh yeah.
The simplicity of the stories and their directness, their accessibility, I think is why a show like the Addams Family is such a success, and why it's out there as all these many years later.
Well, and I've heard amazing things about this set. So tell us, what instruction or guidance were you given when you were hired to design it?
Well, what I was given, and just to be clear, this is the original Broadway designer's work. So what my job was here to adapt it for the tour and to make it work in these various venues for this tour. So my job was to not necessarily create from anew, but interpret the existing design and to make sure that we could get it to happen within the parameters that we did, with a one-day load-in. So what's interesting about this work is that there are a lot of pragmatic considerations that one has to keep in mind, and then you also have to then put on the art hat and make sure that the art matters. But it was a lot of fun going back and looking at the various iterations of the production and going, I'd love to see that again, or this part of it was really great. I wonder if we can do that.
That's cool.
It was, and the that big red drape that kind of frames the show was part of the original design, and I'm very glad that we took that out because it's such a signature for the production. I also have to say it was a great joy to work with Natasha Katz, who did the original lighting and who did the lighting for this production. It's not every day that you get to work with somebody of her caliber.
Well, that's really great. Let's go back a little bit to some of the specifications, because as you mentioned, this show is traveling all over the country. Sometimes, these shows are traveling all over the world, and you have to take something that really originally was in one theater for a longer run and make it so that it still feels grand, but it's easily transportable and it's easy to put up and take down, right?
Exactly. So, some of the things that we have to consider is most of those, we make a lot of the scenery soft for backdrops so that they can go up quickly. You have to make sure everything fits kind of through a double door sometimes, so keep everything under 6'8", and then you can kind of build on top of it. It's got to fit in a truck and come out quickly, so you've got height and width limitations there. We do our deck as a add up all those things, and you get some time savings and some truck space savings. But again, what I'm so proud of is the ultimate product that we deliver at the end of the day, I think, looks and feels rich and full, layered. And if you saw the Broadway production, you would certainly recognize this production as being of a similar caliber.
Well, it's amazing to me how you really can layer, as you say, different backdrops, one on top of the other, and remove and add. And it really does add an amazing three-dimensional feel where you're right. Well, first of all, I have to say, this feels like one of those really complicated word problems to me, so that anybody who is out there and thinks they don't need to study math, my God, even in a very creative field like yours, you still need to know math. Look at that. You're like figuring out how you can make things smaller and fit into spaces, but still get the same grand effect. That's pretty amazing to me.
Yes, I like to describe it as like it's 3D Tetris. You know, it's a chess game on 3 dimensions, you know, because you've got things on the flat plane, and then you've got things going up in the air. They can't hit each other. You know, it has to go out quickly. But, you know, and you do this long enough, you kind of know what the rules are and how to kind of do it quickly.
Right.
But you know, certainly early days was some interesting learning curves about, you know, how all this has to go up. But I tell you, the crew, the guys and gals that load this in, they're the real heroes of what makes this go in and go up fast and it gets repeatable, you know, kind of week in, week out, so that it looks just as great in Worcester, you know, as it does, you know, say at a theater down in Virginia.
That's great. And so which is your favorite scene that when you look back on it, which nugget or which portion, which scene do you think is really incredible and you're really proud of the effect?
You know, I think the one that's the most lush, and you were talking about layers before, it's the one that I think is most successful, and it's the one in the end when they're in Central Park, and you've got this beautiful, huge tree, and that tree is flat.
Wow.
You know, but the way it's been lit, and the fact that you can see through the branches of the trees to the backdrop of New York City, which is also backlit, and, you know, the quality of the light, I think it's just such a lovely composition. The quality of color is really beautiful and rich, very evocative, and at the same time very simple. You know, it's just a couple of layers, and that's all you need.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. I really can't. That reminds me, the reason why I was telling everybody earlier that we revere you at the Hanover Theatre is because you worked with our executive director, Troy Siebels, on the set and design for A Christmas Carol. So
yes.
Anybody who has seen that production knows what a huge difference those hand-painted backdrops can truly make, right?
Yeah, and that's I am such a proud participant of that production, and I'm so thrilled that Troy brings it back year after year, and it's you know, it's just so timely for the holidays, and as you say, the depth and the richness of that production, I think is just great, and you know, Hanover has, you know, the Hanover Theatre is just such a great asset for, you know, the Worcester community, and it's not every community that has such a great theater with such amazing programming. So it's such a delight to come back year after year and see so many faces light up when they walk into that room.
Well, we're all lucky to have each other, that's for sure. And so, you know, as you were talking, I was also wondering, you've been doing this for a little while now. How has it really changed? Are you finding that people are doing more of the backdrops with the special lighting to achieve their effects? Or are there new things, new techniques that you've discovered in the last few years? How has it all changed?
Yeah, I think what's revolutionized theater is the whole digital process, computers. The great fight now is that you can, from a cost point of view, you can almost print a backdrop for as much money as it costs to paint it by hand. Now, however, I feel, and I think most designers and scenic artists would feel, that there's a loss in terms of the handmade quality of a backdrop versus a printed drop. But that's what's revolutionized things and made, you know, kind of, things just move so much faster in theater now because of technology.
Things move faster in every single solitary industry we can ever think of. It's crazy. And it really is the access, like you said, to technology and being able to print on almost any surface at almost any size is crazy.
And that's true. I mean, we can print floors that go out on tour, those huge backdrops that are 50 feet by 24 feet, there are printers that print 24 feet by 50 feet.
Wow. That's crazy. But you know what?
Amazing.
I agree with you. Nothing replaces the hand-painted anything.
Yeah.
And you can tell the difference, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so for the Addams Family, I hope that the answer is yes, but is that hand-painted or is that printed?
It's a combination of the two. So,
now that we've asked the question.
Which is which. Because I think, so much of the printing is very successful.
Yep.
Some of it's backlit. I will say that the tree, when folks go to see that, that's been laser cut. So that's not been hand cut. So that's something else that's new. All these individual tree, leaves, it's all flat. But all that was cut with what they call a vector file.
Wow.
Which is kind of amazing technology. And you can, if you can draw it in the computer, you can have it cut or made or printed.
That's incredible to me. What do you think What do you think's next in the whole theater design field there? Now we're able to cut. We're able to print.
LED lighting is a huge jump that theater is embracing, which is huge. I think the good news is that theater will never die as an art form and as a medium. I think there's something about the immediacy of seeing somebody real and experiencing an evening, with fellow audiences members that will never be replaced. But, as long as we have good stories and good storytellers, that's what's going to keep that medium alive and vibrant.
Oh, and we're focusing on creating new generations so that it keeps going on and on forever. So,
yeah.
Listen,
nothing makes me happier than seeing a kid walk into a theater and their faces light up, with seeing theater for the first time. It's a huge show, and that's what gets me to show up in the room every day.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So is there anything else that you want to make sure people know about as they're coming to the Addams Family or thinking about coming to the Addams Family? Any little...
Just make sure you know how to snap. There's a certain song that you have to know how to snap to. That comes up.
I think we know that one.
It's a great score. It's great fun. It's very funny.
Oh, good.
And the other great thing is that it's a show for the family.
That's great to hear. So we will look forward to seeing you, if not at this tour, around the holidays again at the theater. And James, we totally appreciate you taking the time out of what I know is a very busy schedule to talk to us today. We appreciate it.
A pleasure always to talk to you.
Okay, good. And we hope to have you back on maybe around November, December, so we can catch up with what's going on there.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, you have a great day, and thanks again for joining us on Behind the Scenes.